So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
I talk first. I always talk first.
Good morning, Vietnam!
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
The numbers all go to 11.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition! I got a bad feeling about this.
1.21 gigawatts.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie! You can't handle the truth!
To be or not to be? Not to be.
Welcome back to the Film Geeks podcast. We are back with the third and final part of our 2017 TV show previews with Anir, Mrigank, Abhishek and Arindam. So let's get back to the conversation.
Okay, so next up we have a show I think that will divide us. It's called Riverdale. It's an adaptation of Archie. It will have 10 episodes and it does not look anything like the Archies. And it is about a murder mystery which is more in tune to Twin Peaks rather than what we've known and seen about the Archies. So Abhishek, you have strong feelings about this one.
It's basically Vampire Diaries with other vampires. It's fucking Vampire Diaries. That's what CW does. They take shows. That's where properties go to die. You know, fucking CW take models, non-actors, and they cast them in these roles which have very promising premises, and they destroy them. They're gonna do the same with Archie. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a fan base who are gonna go head over heels with whoever the fuck has been cast as Archie and whoever has been cast as Betty, and they're gonna be Tumblr pages about it, or fucking Instagram pages about it. They're gonna be all over your social media. But this show is gonna suck. This show will not be for people who like good shows. This show is going to be for the college-going, prepubescent, sheep kind of people who will love everything what they are told to like fucking people who like Gilmore Girls, which is like a piece of shit show which gets a lot of credit for things which they do completely and horribly wrong. Season after season after season. That's the only reason why Vampire Diaries is still on fucking television. Why the fuck is this show still there? And why is Archie being dealt with this way? Why couldn't they do the Mark Waid storyline? Why couldn't they adapt? If they wanted to go serious film, why didn't they do Afterlife with Archie? No, but they have to put in this bloody CW nonsense about a murder mystery where every week they'll have some fucking party where someone will die or some clue they'll get. They'll have this single mom dealing with her issues. They'll have this bloody drunk alcoholic police sergeant who will have his issues. Yeah, have you seen fucking Jughead in that show? What the fuck is going on with the casting? What, they don't have money or what now? Desire. Have you seen Veronica? Veronica looks like a, I don't know what, who would want to date that girl?
Veronica is perfect.
Betty is Veronica. What the fuck is going on with the show? Fuck this show, dude. I'm not going to watch this show.
I understand your viewpoint, Abhishek, and I mean, I understand you're taking it really hard, but I think that's the truth of the thing, at the end of the day. I have a different counterpoint, but I won't say I'm excited for it, and I know it's gonna fail, but not for reasons. But I think the other reason being the people who grew up reading Archies or stuff, I mean, we are way too old for this shit. I mean, I don't think the new generation, the new pre-pubescent crowd really cares for this show. I mean, most of them won't even know which character is supposed to be what. And so for that matter, this show might be a sort of this because they don't really know what to expect. But for people like us, I mean, and I'm even thinking the showrunners try to be a little creative and maybe put a different twist to it. But at the end of the day, as you said, I mean, CW show, and I don't think anything good has ever come out of it either.
Supernatural has come out of CW, man. Supernatural is awesome. Was awesome.
Used to be awesome.
Used to be awesome.
Was awesome, yes.
Okay, the thing is, the only reason why I have little hope for this show is because it's written by this guy called Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. If you know anything about this guy, he has reinvented Archies. He had a pitch about Archies, let's have a zombie apocalypse in Archies, and everyone said this will suck. Why will you even do that? And then he wrote Afterlife with Archie, and it turned out to be a saving grace for the company. It gave them so much money, and it was so successful. They were able to reboot it and bring Archies to the new, this generation again. So this guy is the only reason why I am excited, because every time you write Archie off, they come off with something which is incredible. Remember, way back when everyone said like, why will you have Punisher come to the Archie books? And it turned out to be one of the most magical things. Even in the recent past, there was a book called Archie versus Predator, and it involved the Predator tracking them to Riverdale, and it turned out to be one of the most surprisingly awesome books that year. So every time, in my opinion, every time you write of Archie, they have surprised us, and that is the only reason. I think I'm too hopeful about this, but I'll just wait for it. And also, it won't have 22 episodes; it will have 10, which means that they have a specific thing in mind, and it won't be like on the go, and it won't have fillers.
Yeah, I get that. But then again, Aguirre Sacasa will have to answer to the demography which this show is being targeted towards. You don't have what works in a comic medium does not necessarily have to work in on the screen. The biggest example of this is The Walking Dead. But yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? If these actors are shit, no matter if he has the greatest of scripts, like if he even does Afterlife with Archie, or even if he does the Mark Waid run, I don't think it's going to translate well because the actors are garbage.
But here's a counterpoint to all of this. Okay? That it isn't being made for you. You think of it and you think that maybe it's something that is trying to back in on the whole Archie many of people of our age relate to, but not necessarily people from this generation. They don't. Nobody picks up a comic and reads it unless there's some sort of cinematic value that has been attached to it in recent years. That is something that is very sad because nobody picks up a comic just for the sake of reading a comic anymore. And that is something that you have to understand when you look at the philosophy behind maybe adapting all of the Archie to this small screen. Now, when you look at this show, you have to think about two other things. One is that it's even if it was not the plot line that is following right now, it would be a sappy school romance drama / drama with a bit of comedy thrown in. And again, that is something that I don't know if you would have watched it. That's not my genre per se. Romance comedy drama is not really my genre. That's maybe a little bit. Maggie will probably watch it a little bit, but not me.
Yeah, I just want to add my 2 cents. I mean, just add to what you were talking about. It's just that the generation, and you hit the nail right on the head, because these people are the ones who are picking up comics only after seeing the movies. They don't have any idea about characters, and you see a lot of posers who try to act like, maybe Team Marvel or DC or whatever without knowing shit from Shinola. That's where I think this sort of show comes in, where it's going to build a fan base of its own who just gonna maybe watch it for they know maybe a little bit about Archies, or maybe they have even read 2 or 3 comic books. But at the end of the day, it's again made for people who really don't know this shit. I mean, that's what I feel very strongly about this thing. I mean, if you remember, Anirban, it was not about a small snippet of why I find things funny. And there was this, we went to this entertainment store, right? So they have these lot of collectibles out there, and there was one collectible of Batman in a fighting pose with the Arkham Knight. And there were these 2 guys in front of us, and that guy goes like, "Arey, ye dekh, ye to wahi hai na, Avengers wala." And then I'm thinking like, who is he talking about? So then I realized he means Black Panther, even though he couldn't remember the name. And they get really excited seeing that, alright? I mean, they don't even know what the bloody hell the collectible is supposed to mean and what it's supposed to be for. Why would the fuck would Batman fighting against Black Panther, whatever. And it's shit like this that drives me crazy. But again, I think this is the sort of crowd that this show might.
Okay, so next we have The Walking Dead returning on 19th February with Anir. I had strong feelings about this season. I guess the first season was overwhelmingly good, shocking to say. And also it ended on a high note. The thing with Walking Dead is they always do this. They have these strong episodes and then they have quite a lot of fillers. But if you know them, that is what they do. From the first season, first episodes itself, they have strong openers, strong middles, not really strong middles, but strong ends. I would like to know, your guys.
My introduction to Walking Dead was this amazing wallpaper that I had. That was my introduction to Walking Dead. And after years after that, when the show was, I'm one of the few people who has not read the comic book first, and I watched the first season, first couple of seasons. Then I've read the first 80 odd issues of Walking Dead. And the only reason why I don't like Walking Dead is because of the exact same reasons why Arindam has listed. The pacing is the worst. I think they have like serious pacing issues. I mean, season 2 and season 3, literally nothing happens. The last season was the strongest in my opinion because there were a lot of character developments. The biggest disappointment for me was Negan, because I was really pumped when Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is one of my favorite actors since Supernatural, was cast as Negan, and the first episode where he makes his appearance was fucking awesome, and then it was just horribly one note. There is nothing redeeming about Walking Dead. Every character is the same in the sense that their motivations have not changed. Rick is one note, Daryl looks cool, but does absolutely fuck all. But Negan too is horribly one note. That is the biggest problem with the show, and I have given up on the show. I'm not going to watch the show anymore. For the same reason as Supernatural, it breaks my heart to say this, but Supernatural has also been this way. It's not because of the acting, it's just because the quality of the writing has gone down so horribly. And also, Walking Dead is also, the only reason I'm not going to watch Walking Dead is because the characters are so unlikable. I cannot relate with anyone. I'm not that I'm supposed to, but at the very least, I should be able to sympathize with something if something happens. When, spoiler alert, when fucking Glenn dies, I really didn't care anymore. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care anymore about the show. Arindam, I know you have strong feelings about this, so what would be your counterpoint?
I would only say that this is the way Walking Dead has been. Even in the comics, they have it's not about the zombies. It's not if you are expecting all-out action every time. You won't get that. It's about the characters which make it work. And I thought they have been doing that quite well. The next season will obviously be about the all-out war, I think. Which will involve Negan being taken down, and it's also interesting how they end up, because right now in the comics Negan and Rick are partners. So I'm waiting to see if they follow the same path or if they are gonna make it different from what they have in the comics. So next we have a show called Sun Records, which is coming out on the 23rd of February. It stars Chad Michael Murray as Sam Phillips, the legendary Sam Phillips, who was the founder of both Sun Studios and Sun Records in Memphis, Tennessee. If you know your rock and roll history well, Sun Studios and Records was where Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, they got their first break. And it showed that, the early days of rock and roll, and I think it's going to be quite good. And the thing I loved about it is that they show the black musicians who are also attached to it and from where they got their influence. So I think it's going to be quite a fair portrayal of those characters. So Abhishek.
Yes, I am really excited for this because I love the three artists and everything which most of the things which Sun Records has done. And Sun Records, had a huge influence on the latter day record labels like Motown and Stax music, which I really, really love. I love soul music. I love bluesgrass and all of these genres which rock and roll spawned, and I really love that. I hope they touch on all of these issues and all of these influences are really well portrayed, because this is a very storied tale. I mean, just even if you leave out Elvis and Johnny Cash, whose stories have been told time and time again, I am really interested to see people like Jerry Lee Lewis. His story is incredible. This guy, he is just one of the greatest rock and roll singers of all time. Elvis Presley, of course, the fucking king, and obviously, Johnny Cash. His story has been told numerous times through different mediums, and this is something I'm really interested in. I really hope they cast someone very, very strong as Colonel Parker. I'm not really sure about the casting of this because there's not much much that we know about this. But I really hope they cast a very strong character as Colonel Parker, because Colonel Parker, as you know, if you talk about Elvis, you always have to talk about Colonel Parker, who was his manager and someone who is blamed for his eventual decline into mediocrity and obviously his death. This is something I'm really excited for. I am very, this music really resonates with me, and I'm sure you guys will be excited for it as well.
What about you, Anir?
Kind of. I mean, if you know me, then you know my disdain for all things that are related to biopics. It's Solely because a lot of times I believe that we have this image in our heads, and the more we learn about stars or superstars, megastars, whatever how you want to refer to them, the more we learn about them, we take them down from the pedestal one step at a time, and then that is a lot of that can be due to the embellishments that have been made in the stories. But they do affect the way that we perceive these guys. I mean, I know a lot of times, there will be factual things that will be involved in all of this. But if you look at it in a different light, the thing is that more you know, the more you will judge these characters, and soon you'll be relating them to those stars that you've grown up with and loved, and that is something that I can't do in a different light. That's just the way it is. I'm very on the fence on this. I'll probably watch it maybe at the pilot itself to see whether it's something that's down my alley, and then I'll make up a mind. And obviously, we'll have a discussion on it at a later point.
Right. Okay, and Mrigank.
I am actually unnaturally excited for this show. I mean, to be honest, I didn't know anything about it until I saw the trailer. And that is like yesterday. And I think, I mean, it could be a really good show, but then again, it could be a shit show as well. It all depends upon how it's basically perceived on screen and how these characters really come out on top, like, because at the end of the day, these are the musicians. We all sort of, even if we don't love them, we like them, and they have given music so much, over the careers. And even if it's like more to do with Sun Records, and again, like I think we talked about it some time back about vinyl and how I sort of like that show quite a bit. And I think this show could give me my vinyl fix because again, it's a record company, and again, like it could be about making and breaking stars and how these people at that time and that age, went against social norms and presented the music that was, really deserving to be heard. So like that, I'm sort of pretty excited for this show.
So next we have Trial and Error. It's a show quite similar to Parks and Rec, in which they make a documentary. It's about John Lithgow, who gets entrapped for his wife's murder, and it's up to his rookie lawyer to save. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's a show which is 7 years too late. This is a type of comedy which was popularized by the legendary Ricky Gervais in The Office, and after which you had the US Office, and then you had shows like Parks and Recreation, and you had shows like Arrested Development, all shows which look better than this show. This show looks like it's dated. It doesn't stick, although it has John Lithgow, who is amazing. But I think that it comes across as extremely dated. I'm not really excited for this show. What about the others?
Same, yeah. I mean, is it going to be very different? I mean, no, I don't think so. It's not going to have different points when it comes to the type of TV shows that we've known and loved, come to know and love. So yeah, even me, I think I'll be on Abhishek's team on this one, and I'll say that I'm not really too excited about this.
Next we have a show called Time After Time, which features on ABC on the 12th of March. If you're a fan of the old movie, it's one of my favorite time travel movies. It involved H.G. Wells inviting his friends over, and then he discovers that to show them the time machine, and then he discovers that the time machine is missing. And then the police come to his place and they ask him about a friend's whereabouts, and they say that he's in the basement. And then they go down to the basement and they find that the time machine is missing. And they open that friend's bag and they find out that that person was actually Jack the Ripper. So it involves Jack the Ripper coming down to the modern day and age, and he's pursued by H.G. Wells to take him back to the current time. And it's a fun movie. Even for its time, it was really well paced, and it is one of my favorite time travel movies. It starred Michael McDowell, who was also Alex from the Clockwork Orange movies. And it was the directing debut of Nicholas Meyer as well. If you are a fan of Star Trek, you will know him as the writer and director for the Star Trek The Wrath of Khan. So what are your take on the trailer, guys? Abhishek?
Yeah, I was pretty indifferent, but the premise, as I found out yesterday, it is based on the old film. And yeah, I'm really indifferent on the way it has been portrayed. I'm really hoping that the show is good, because sometimes trailers don't do a lot of justice. If you remember, the biggest example of this is Game of Thrones. I think Game of Thrones, the season 1, it just came across as a Dungeons and Dragons thing, something which I was not really interested in, and then the show was completely different than how it was portrayed in the trailer. I hope that's a similar case, although the scale is not that much as a Game of Thrones, but then again, there is a multitude of possibilities of what you can achieve with this. And I hope that they do. I hope that they're not encumbered by bad writing, because H.G. Wells and Jack the Ripper, this is a very rich mythology that they're dealing with, and I hope that it's done well, and I wouldn't say I'm excited for this, but this is a show which I would definitely watch. Like, if I have nothing else to watch, this is a show which I will definitely sit and, just binge on or whatever.
Mrigank, your take on it.
I echo the same sentiments as you, like Abhishek, because at the end of the day, I get really excited when anything related to time travel comes up, because I think this is, I don't know if I can call it a genre, but when sci-fi movies deal with time travel, there's so many different avenues and opportunities which open up. And to be honest, it's only limited by one's imagination. So if you have good, show directors and creators at the helm, and if they can actually really pull it off, and then I think it's going to be a really a gem of a show. So, but then again, the jury is still out. So unless the first few episodes come out, we'll never know what we're getting.
What about you?
Well, I'll completely go off the rocks on this one. I don't agree with either one of you. I think this is a formulaic TV series. The formula is that you bring back somebody from the past and readapt them to the modern day. We've seen that for Sherlock. We've seen that recently for, what was that? Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow. That was the one with Nicole Kidman. And yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you watch Sleepy Hollow, you know exactly that's what's going to happen in this. He's going to have his struggles. H.G. Wells is a hollowed name when it comes to sci-fi. How dare people study, man? H.G. Wells' name just doesn't make sense. This is the guy who's responsible for Call of Flu, man, and it's just beyond me why people would do stuff like this. I'm not interested in this show.
So next we have a time travel comedy against by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who are geniuses. And it's that, and they're making a show called Making History. It's about a guy who makes a time travel device out of a duffel bag. And I really liked the trailer for it. What are your thoughts on it, Abhishek?
I love the trailer. This is insane. One of my favorite time travel movies, and I know you guys might balk at this, is Hot Tub Time Machine. You know why? Because I love my time travel. I love my time travel movies which have no explanation as to how time travel is done. Like, I love one of my favorite films of all time is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they time travel in basically a TARDIS, and a Hot Tub Time Machine is just they put some Russian Red Bull into a hot tub and they go back to the 80s. Like I was saying, I love the way this trailer looks. This is about this guy, like Arindam mentioned, who finds a duffel bag. I don't think he even makes it. He finds a duffel bag which has a time machine attached to it, and he enters the duffel bag and he goes back in the 1800s during the American Revolution. During the American Revolution. And the premise is he takes a black guy along with him, and if you know anything about your American history, blacks were not really welcome at that day and age. And he ends up dating Paul Revere's daughter. Paul Revere, who was supposed to be this, this very macho guy who took on the British by themselves, and something happens there, and they fuck up the announcement that the British occupation would happen, and British actually occupy America. So basically, they have to rally around the troops, so as to say, and give America back its independence. So it looks amazing. It looks hilarious. And Phil Lord and Chris Miller are attached to it, so I don't think they can go wrong in anything which they do. And this looks very, very promising. So I'm very excited for this show.
Okay, what about you, Anir?
So am I. I agree completely. The trailer looked amazing. The trailer itself gave you so much to laugh at that I think the show is going to be even better when it comes to all of those.
Show me the money, baby. Show me the money.
Show me the money, man. Show me the money. That scene itself, I laughed my balls off, man, when I saw that. And then I'm sure the show is going to be, take that one step further. And And I'm really excited for the show. I am. I mean, I haven't been this excited for any show in a while as I was when I watched the trailer.
Okay, so next we have Prison Break returning. Thought that the show had ended and they're bringing back people from the dead. So your thoughts on it, Anir?
You didn't need to make the third season. You didn't need to make the fourth season. You didn't.
You didn't
Actually, you
need to
didn't need
make
to make the
second season.
second season. You didn't. That first season was perfect. But of course, you had to round up that story. And now I know why they didn't make a fifth season. It's because that guy, lead character, I forgot his name. He got too fat. So they had to drop everything, and looks like we'll maybe revisit. Now that he has gotten back into shape, oh yeah, is there no problem? Let's bring him back. Yeah, now it's like a Saas Bahu serial. Koi mar gaya, koi fark nahi padta. Let's bring him back. I'm not on for this, man. I mean, I can see where it's going. He was not dead. He was captured, and then he is in some jail somewhere in some part of the world. So you have to rescue him. Yeah, Prison Break. We get it. It's done. Don't do that, man. Don't do that.
Okay, what about you, Mrigank?
I echo the same sentiments. Yeah. I mean, this thing should have ended like the first season itself. And the funny thing is, I mean, I'm not really sure, but are these guys like siblings or lovers or something? Because they're always together in whatever they're doing. I mean, I think it was either what Flash or Gotham, where these guys, one is the Iceman and the other guy is the Mr. Hot or something. These really cookie cutter characters, they are like playing as villains or something, and I just don't like them anymore.
Flash.
And that's the funny thing, these guys, I mean, they were decent for season 1 because I don't think either of them is a great actor, to be honest. And that first season was just beautiful. I mean, because it came at a time when we didn't really have a lot of good TV shows, like interesting TV shows, and it did some things well. But I mean, it was still a little cheesy, but then we can work with that. But not the second, not the third, not the fourth season, and now they're bringing it back again, and you know what's gonna happen. Even the trailer looks cheesy as hell. So, I mean, I'm staying out in this case for sure.
Okay, what about you, Abhishek?
Yeah, the trailer looks horrible. I mean, I'm not really. They gave away they took the DC route and they gave away the entire story in the trailer. But the only reason, if at all, I watch the show is only if Agent Mahone comes in. If Agent Mahone is a part of the show is the only reason why I'll watch this, because by far I started off loving Michael, but as the show went on, Agent Mahone became my favorite character. Bellic is not coming back obviously because he died, but yeah, if Mahone comes back, I would watch the shit out of the show because I think he is one of the most intriguing characters of the show. Everyone talks about T-Bag and all, but T-Bag always, I never really took a liking to him, but Mahone is someone who has this character arc, he's the only one who has the character arc in the entire show. He starts off as a bad guy, then they go into his entire backstory, and then they make you sympathize with him, and then he becomes a good guy, which he goes through an entire arc. So he's the only one who has done that. Right from the start, his brother, the guy who he has to break out from the jail in the first place, that guy is unlikable right till the end of season 5. You don't really relate to him. You can't really say much about him. He's just a strong guy who's just there, and he does himself no favors because he just has one expression as well. Also, I was a huge fan. I still love Prison Break. I love that show for the only reason why Mrigank mentioned is that it was one of the very first shows which I started to watch on, I started to binge on, because you got those DVDs. I remember I picked it up from a store in Shillong, and I binge watched the entire first 3 seasons. And it's very close to my heart, and that's the only reason why I'll watch this show. But apart from that, I'll be very excited only if Mahone comes in.
Okay, so next we have the show called Jean-Claude Van Johnson. The Amazon pilot just came out. I saw the pilot and I quite liked it. It was like his show, his movie JCVD, which was sort of a take on his life and his career as an actor. This one takes it a step further, in which they show that why he makes these shitty movies. Essentially, the CIA or that secret agency, whichever is there, they bankroll these shitty movies so that he can go on these secret missions and do them. Just because he's JCVD and he's a secret agent himself, and he's called Jean-Claude Van Johnson instead of Van Damme. So, what did you guys see the trailer or watch the pilot?
I watched the trailer. I didn't watch the pilot, but I watched the trailer, and the only reason why I'll watch the shit out of this is because it stars Jean-Claude. And I would love to watch him to kick the shit out of roundhouse kick people, because that's the only thing why I love Jean-Claude Van Damme is because of his roundhouse kicks. Those things are things of beauty. Those things are like poetry in motion. Those things are a work of God. That's the only reason why I love Jean-Claude Van Damme, and that is the only reason why I'll watch the show, just to see him kick motherfuckers. That's it.
The scene of the show is him trying to do the splits, and because he's too old, he fails. And the guy who's trying to, he tries to avoid a punch by doing the splits. And then he just tries it, and he can't get through, and he gets punched into oblivion. So it's very funny the way he makes fun of himself. The self-depreciating humor of JCVD is immensely strong in this one. So Anir, your take on it?
Same. I got reminded of JCVD when I saw this, and JCVD itself was such an underrated movie. I mean, it got elevated purely because of that one scene, I know, but that movie was great. If you watch it end to end, you know what I'm talking about. I'm surprised that it took them this long to sort of get to this point where they're making a series. I think it's because of JCVD's insistence that he is still a movie star. So he still wants to make movies. I mean, I recently watched the shit of a movie called Bloodsport 2, and yeah, and it had Batista. I think the Sen brothers will really relate to that, and it also had my favorite fighter of all time, Georges St. Pierre, and it's just that horrible movie, and he's still being that guy, and that movie obviously bombed big time. And had a few good scenes, but it bombed big time. And now when you take that out into context, and then you think about him making a movie where he's basically making fun of himself. I mean, come on, that's just gold mine. That's just something that should work, definitely.
How awesome would it be that if Georges St. Pierre makes an appearance in Jean-Claude Van Johnson? I would simultaneously cry, come, and piss at the same time.
Mrigank, did you watch the trailer?
I did watch the trailer, and I think I saw it with Anirban as well, and that's the first thing that came into my mind. Like, this is pretty much like JCVD, and I mean, of course, the name gives it away and stuff. And I think the self-depreciating role which he does is one of the best roles he has done in a long time. And so I'm definitely very excited, how it pans out. The premise definitely sounds really interesting as well, and I just hope he can keep the energy up, because he's definitely getting old, and he might not have a range of emotions and stuff, but as Abhishek said, he's got his dropkicks to support him too. So yeah.
So we finally come down to the last two shows that we're going to discuss. The first up is Preacher. I really loved the first season. I thought the deviations they had from the book only bettered it. I don't say that much, and Preacher is my favorite mini-series of all time, and I really loved what Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg had to do. So Anir, what do you expect from season 2?
I think I expect more of the same. I think those characters were so kooky. It's just hard not to fall in love with them. The first season itself had so much, so many good things to look back on it. I mean, all those characters were so well written, man, and the series itself was, it's just something that you had to watch, one after the other. I couldn't wait for the next week so that I could watch the next episode, and it's just amazing what they've done with the show, and I hope I get to see. And it's surprising because it's been produced by Seth Rogen, so glad that he's sort of leading the show in that direction, and I hope that that's where we'll see more of in the second season.
I've read the book multiple times, and what I really liked about it is how they brought out Saint of Killers' origin. I think it was done better in the series rather than the books.
Yeah, I was thinking, with Preacher, I was really surprised with how good it was, because, Lucifer had just come out back then, and I mean, how they tend to screw over such comic books because they can't really do them justice. Especially when I heard that Seth Rogen was associated, I really didn't know what to expect, and I was so taken aback when the first episode hit. The ending of the first episode was perfect. It's really set up the show for me, and I think the season just got better. I mean, I think the characters are perfect in many regards. The Irish vampire, I mean, he is amazing. I sort of forgot his name right now, so I didn't take his name.
Cassidy.
But yeah, I mean, I think this show, Cassidy. So Cassidy's character was beautifully done. I mean, if I had to ever imagine what Cassidy would be like in real life, I think, this guy just portrays him like, right down to, the T. And I'm just hopeful that the show just goes on from here and it gets the viewer base that it deserves, because at the end of the day, it's the view count which will decide whether this show, sticks or not. Because we saw also what happened to Hannibal, so...
Right, so even if it's good, it might just get cancelled and we'll get to a haphazard ending. Abhishek, your take on Preacher?
Right, there's nothing much I can add than what I've already has. Like I said, I just think that there are a few things which I would want to see, and that is what I would discuss. I would want someone like Christoph Waltz play Herzog. That is something I'll be really excited to watch. Also, I would love to watch the ghost of John Wayne. Boy, he is such a big linchpin in the in the comic books. I would really love to see the ghost of John Wayne there, and also I would love that Cassidy is taken out for a while, I guess, and which would shift the arc to my favorite arc in the comic books is when Jesse visits his grandmother in New Orleans. That is my favorite arc of the comic book, and that is somewhere where Jesse's power can be explored as well, and he would have a lot to do, and would explain the backstory as well. That is something which I would be really excited to watch, and I hope that's what happens. But there is some news which I was I found out on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, that Ruth Onega may not be involved as much in season 2 because she would be doing the promotional runs for this movie which she has done called Loving. So she may not be a huge part of season 2, and if you remember, she is exemplary in the show. I think she's the best part of the show as Tulip. I think that may be a downer if it is actually true.
Actually, she doesn't have a very big role in Hunters, this thing that you were talking about in which Jesse gets kidnapped by the two guys.
Yeah, but she's the exact reason why he comes back, right? I mean, she gets kidnapped. Yeah, she gets kidnapped as well, and then they try to kill her. Without spoiling anything for people who haven't read Preacher, and if you haven't read Preacher, what the fuck are you doing with your lives?
So nextly we have Narcos, and it's very interesting because Wagner Moura is the soul of Narcos. But the thing is that I don't know what they're going to do with season 3. Cali Cartel and Pedro Pascal taking the lead. So Anir,
more of the same. I mean, Moura was the heart of the show, like you said, and it's very hard to see. It's not very hard to see actually where they're going to go. They're going to pick up another cartel leader and make him the supreme guy who everybody has to take down. It's a never-ending cycle, and that is the thing that you'll see in reality, because I know this is based on real life, so this is something that is actually something that you will see in real life too, is that there's always somebody else to take your place. Just because Pablo Escobar died doesn't mean that there was nobody else to take his place. There's still the whole drug cartel still exists, and there's somebody else who is at the top, and that's what we're going to see in season 3. Man.
Okay, next up we have Silicon Valley. I think this is one of the best. I think this is the best written comedy show that we have right now. Like Mike Judge can do no wrong. Everything that he writes is like pure comedy gold. So your take on it?
That series, it's just bonkers, man. It just pulls you in, and then it just doesn't let you go. It just got brilliant comedic timing. All those guys are brilliant. TJ Miller, and that thing is hilarious. I laugh out loud every time I think about that one scene where they're calculating the optimum pace at which they should jerk off people so that they can jerk off the whole room. Right, that scene is just the best piece of comedy. I don't know since when, but it is. It just makes you laugh out loud every time that you think of it. And the fact that it's it's just amazing. And I think that's something that was there in season 2, 3, season 4. I mean, we're going to see more of the same, and you have to be excited for that.
I feel that the show, I mean, such is like really amazingly done. I mean, it has this brilliant characters who, I mean, you're always laughing and whenever they're on the screen, and you might be chuckling at the inside jokes or whatever, but I mean, it's just like how beautifully the characters are written in the show, which really drives the show forward. I'm really excited to see what they do in the coming season, because one complaint that I have heard from many places is that it's sort of becoming the same, where these guys are always faced with one adversity or another. And if they are able to change that and maybe, actually give us a good time, like, maybe actually have their dreams come true and maybe then struggle with realizing how that affects their lives, it'll be some different take on, the show, how the show has been running lately.
I
But
think
given that, I totally agree that it's like the most hidden comedy on TV right now.
I think as the saying goes, right, the journey matters. So I guess this is the case here. The way that they write themselves out, and week to week they have a different kind of fuck up that they do that they have to amend. I think that's the strong suit for this show. It's like Dragon Ball Z. Every week they face, the beginning of the show, they have this this huge thing that they can't come up against, and then finally, due to some fuck up or the other, they somehow manage to do that. And I think that's one of the strongest suits for the show. So next we have Grand Claude, which was also the most pirated show in the world. I haven't watched any Top Gear or the Grand Claude episode because frankly I'm not a big fan of cars in general. So Anir, I think you're a big fan of the show, right? Just like give us your take on it.
I am a big fan. I'm such a big fan that I actually had tears in my eyes when they announced the Grand Tour. I mean, I get excited every time Top Gear, not anymore Top Gear, but every time these three middle-aged, now more on the side of old age, but when three middle-aged British, politically incorrect jackasses who love to make fun of each other come on to the screen, that's when I am at my most, when I'm really excited. I mean, I just can't do anything except for wait for the next episode, and I've been doing the same. I took an Amazon Prime subscription just for the sake of watching this show. You know what? They did a very shitty job because they censored the whole show down from an hour to 40 minutes, which is something that should be highlighted. Those guys are getting it wrong, man. That's why you're behind Netflix in such a big way, because you're doing that shit, man, and it doesn't need to be censored. It's on the net. There's nobody who is censoring you. Why the fuck do you need to cut down that show into 20 minutes? It's a big time. You don't need to do that. But the show itself, it's great. It shows the difference between Top Gear and Grand Tour is that they have a big budget, and it bloody shows. If you want to look at really beautiful cinematography, you have to look no further than the Grand Tour. If you want to look at really funny people, you have to look at Top Gear. The chemistry between those three people is amazing. And if you haven't seen it, I suggest that you should see it, especially the specials, the Top Gear specials. Arindam, I know you're not a big fan, but you should watch the specials because that's where everything comes together.
I am not a car guy. I can't differentiate my Swift from an Alto. I don't watch the show, but I would like to bring up a very interesting point which I discovered in one of these Netflix specials. You know, there's this comedian called Stuart Lee. I don't know if you've heard of him. So he's this very British comedian. I mean, not a very British comedian. He's a British comedian, and who talks about these very British ideas. You know, and since Top Gear and the Grand Tour are British productions, he speaks specifically. He has an entire rant about the Top Gear in a 17-minute rant. I highly implore you guys to check it out. It's one of the most insane bits. It's just my tie-in into the Top Gear because I have nothing to add. All I can say is watch Stuart Lee. It's up on YouTube. Just type Stuart Lee Top Gear. That is one of the most insane things you can watch. So that's all I have to say about this show. Since you mentioned cinematography, I'll probably check it out. It's on Amazon Prime, yes?
Yep, it's out on Amazon Prime already.
Grand Tour is on Amazon Prime, but you can catch Top Gear, the specials. That's why I'm asking you to watch. I mean, the specials are on Netflix itself.
Okay, cool. So with that, I'd like to bring an end to our podcast. It's been a long list for us to go through. And in case you missed any, do let us know in the comments. I would like to thank Mrigank, Anir and Abhishek for joining us today. And you can follow Indian Nerve on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.